Welcome to Chatting Chaps. Welcome to this week's episode. It's 4th of July week. Any word on Joey Jaws Chestnut, Cooper?
No word, Luke.
Well, me and Cooper look forward to 4th of July, mainly for the hot dog eating contest. Cooper gave us a wonderful illustration a couple episodes ago of how that happens, but we won't ask for that again. That was quite embarrassing. But we do have we do have a word. We do have a word from a fan. Just give us a little advertise.
Listen, the rating show. I have the #1 podcast. That's not to brag. That's facts. However, what Luke and Cooper are doing is phenomenal. Go check out Chatting Chaps. You won't be disappointed.
The one and only Joe Rogan. Thank you, Joe.
Man, thank you, Joe. Wow. Hey, Luke. Speaking of Joey Jaws Chestnut, I actually was corrected. I said that no one can down dogs like Joey Jaws Chestnut. I was corrected by Colton Connor, good friend from Florida. He said someone that can down dogs better is Michael Vick. And I have to agree. He can do it better, I think. He can down dogs like nobody else.
Well, he would be correct.
Nope.
It's not every Joe that we support, but we do support Joey Chestnut and Joe Rogan. So thank you, Joe. Not every Joe's bad. Not every Joe's bad.
What other Joes, Luke?
We don't get into politics on this show. But we have a special guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today wears many hats. He's a husband, a father, one of the top men at Chevron. He's an evangelist. He's an associate pastor and a youth pastor at Fort Lake Assembly of God. Rolling Stones has James Jamerson as the greatest bass player of all time, but they obviously did not know Scottie the White Album. He's also a pianist and a vocalist. He's also a hero. Saved our dad's life once. News article was written about him. But this hat he wears is one of my favorites. He is the camp director of the greatest youth camp on earth. He's not a sissified camp director that's too good to play games with the campers. Oh, no. He's a 50-year-old athlete. He's a man. Oh. He's known as the Hulk. And the only way to tell him and The Rock apart is his hair. There's no need to keep our guests waiting. Please welcome our guest today from somewhere on the Alabama and Mississippi line, Brother Scottie the White Album.
It's an honor, man. Honor and a privilege.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this.
Yes.
We know you're a busy man. You could be doing a lot of things, but thank you for spending a little time with us today. So everything going good? Everything going good? Good.
Oh, yeah. Recovered from camp, getting life back to normal a little bit. So
good deal. We had a wonderful camp this year.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Coop?
It could have been better. If I was there.
You would have been there?
If I was there, yeah. I hate when people tell me how good it was. I hate that. Yeah, I know.
It was probably the best we've ever had.
Probably so.
Well.
Hey, they just opened up a new Taco Bell right next to Waffle House in Grand Bay. they're open all night. All night.
Wow. Huh. Thank you for that.
Just a little incentive to come on back.
That was
good. This year was a great year. I don't know. We didn't make mention of this at camp, but maybe Brother Scottie, you can help me on this. For you that don't know, Brother Scottie, this was his 13th year as camp director, but he had been an assistant for 9. But are you the longest reigning youth camp director?
I am.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I like that. He's reigning.
It really.
12. I think your dad had it for 12, and then I one-upped him this year. So
it does not seem like it's been 13 years. But I do want to not show you your age, but Brother Scottie was my camp director. He was also my brother's camp director. And I noticed this year, every team captain except Zach Crane, you were our camp directors. But it's just amazing to see what the Lord's done. It's I mean, you don't look 50 if that helps, but
good man. Only 48.
No, Scott, he's just pounding it. He's just sitting at home to you.
No.
He's letting everybody know.
I'm gonna be honest. This year was very humbling for me because our team was in last place, and I tried to cheat.
The team reflects the leader, Luke. I've always learned that. The team reflects the leader. He does. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it was good. I'm sure.
Well, I didn't resort to good things. I tried to cheat a little bit to help our team. And at the end, I realized we were not going to win. So I tried to cheat to help another team win. And the look on Brother Scottie's face really terrified me.
It was good. It was a good try. You almost had me. So we tried to turn in Logan and them where Logan and Kendall's team was in third place, Coop. And we tried to turn in several name tags to help them get points so they would jump everybody. And I didn't plan it well because 5 out of the 6 was from Midway.
Well, yeah, that's a little suspicious.
Yeah. But it was a fun week. And the spiritual aspect, man, all the lives that were changed, man, it was just wonderful. There was one church that had gotten word back to us or to Dad, or I think it was Somerville. I think they had every one of their campers they brought. Brother Scottie, you may know this. They all were filled with ghosts or refilled. They were either all filled for the first time or refilled every camper they had. So that is awesome.
That is awesome.
So the Lord just did some wonderful things. I do have a question though. When at the banquet, when I asked for the mic, you said something. You said your words. First of all, he wouldn't give me the mic, and then he said, "Don't embarrass me." like, I just want to know what was going through your mind as far as you thinking I could embarrass you.
I had no idea, man. Y'all really caught me off guard though with the PowerPoint and the slideshow or whatever. But I was just thinking it was fixing to be some kind of joke about getting old or something like that. I had no idea, man. You really caught me off guard. So y'all did a good job.
There's a lot of us that are still afraid of you, and for good reason.
No. Hey, Brother Scottie, I remember it might have been the last year that I was at Fort Slick. I can't remember. I think it was junior camp. And y'all were doing the snow cone. It was after the service. It was nighttime. Yeah. And Logan was like, "Hey, here's my dad's keys to his golf cart. Just run it over to the cafeteria or whatever." So I put it in and it won't. I'm like, and I turned it a little too hard. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like it broke in the, oh dear. So Logan takes it and I follow him. And I remember walking into the tabernacle and you're on the platform and Logan don't tell you at first who you think he did it. And he's like, and you're like, Logan, that's my only key, man. And I'm like, oh boy, well, wait till he finds out it was me. And then he's like, well, Cooper did it. No, I was a little afraid, but you were so nice. I appreciate it. You showed me mercy.
I had that key for a long time. I saw it like a few months ago, and I was like, this is that key that Cooper broke years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I finally threw it away.
I apologize so much that night. I was just
oh man, no big deal.
Yeah.
I hate to beat a dead horse, but I'm gonna beat it a little bit more. What went through your mind the night that you found out Cooper went to Waffle House? Because you know,
I've never asked you this, but if it had been me as a camper, I feel like things would have been different.
Really? Wow. What do you think? You think I would have been more aggravated or something?
Well, I feel like there would have been some punishment.
Really? Okay.
More than kangaroo court. I was not satisfied.
He was not. He didn't like that at all.
Justice
y'all getting off easy. A little egg.
But I didn't know about you going to the table. What Cooper mentioned a few episodes ago.
That was enough. That was enough. I was like, oh man, disappointed in us. And then you asked me to, I think you asked me to preach or something after that. I don't know if that was a test. I thought about that since then. I'm like, was he testing me? Because I said yes. I said yes. I'm like, maybe I should have said no. Like, no, I don't deserve. But I said yes. I don't know. Well, I don't know if that was a test. It was a test. I felt it, I guess.
Well, have you been at? Never mind.
I didn't know how to respond at first. I was a little surprised. I was kind of shocked a little bit. Disappointed. I guess a little bit disappointed, but then I was like, you know what? I'd have probably done the same thing when I was their age, and I guess I was a little more frustrated because there were a couple of other people that were involved that had given me some headaches that week, and and
I'll name them if you want me to. I don't care.
No. And so I was like, I got to be fair to everybody. You know, I can't be harder on some people than others.
Yeah, you can't be harder on me and not Keith. Yeah, I get that.
Oh goodness.
No, I don't know that I ever did anything as far as I don't think I ever broke any rules under you as camp director. I mean, I had a bad temper. I know that. I had a bad temper, and
I think that's the most thing I remember as far as anything like not off kilter, off out of the norm, was that you'd get real aggravated playing basketball.
Yeah.
That's about it though. Everybody does. I used to get aggravated playing basketball too, even as a counselor. So.
Yeah. Especially, well, never mind. But I was just very upset at Cooper, and I was wanting some wrath, because Cooper never gets in trouble. Never gets in trouble, and it was just perfect because I mean you're the guy to put the fear in them, the fear of God in them. I mean,
I don't get that, man. Y'all grew up under Lamar Chapman. It's like how do y'all have fear of anybody else?
No, all right. So you think about that though, like he's obviously our dad, so we don't see what everybody else sees, but. If y'all were a team for so long, man, y'all put the fear of God in some people. But no, that's still being carried on because I know a lot of people they're scared to do anything because of which is good. It's not really. I mean, it is fear of what may happen, but it's respect too. But But you got anything, Coop, for him? Before we get into these questions?
No, you go ahead, Luke. I'm good. I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Brother Scottie is not just our youth camp director, but he is somebody we look up to. He's one of our heroes. He has just been a spiritual influence in not only our lives, but countless young people's lives, and not just young people, but all different ages. And as I mentioned in his introduction, he's an associate pastor. He's a youth pastor, but we know he could be a pastor anywhere. I mean, he preaches off. He is just a wonderful man of God that we highly respect. And so we've got a few questions for him tonight that we just want him to maybe encourage and help somebody else. First question is, as camp director, your burden for young people that that you have that has made a difference, and I'm very biased of youth camps because I always think Sports Lake is the best and will always be the best. But you've had such a burden for young people for so long. As camp director, what have you seen are some differences in the young people now versus when you first became camp director?
That's a good one. Well, first of all, it's very humbling to work with the people who we work with over the years, man. Some of the preachers that's been able to come through, and and then the former camp directors, and then the pastors that's associated with it, and then just how the camp started or whatever. This is like 43 years or something. So just to be able to be a part of it is humbling. I grew up. I went to Fort Slate as a kid. I went there so I could meet girls, and that's where I met Ginger, right? And wasn't worried about anything but playing ball and finding a girlfriend. But then as I grew up, we ended up becoming we got to be counselors, team captains, a couple of years, and then I have no earthly idea what Brother Lamar ever saw in me to ask me to be his assistant. I was like, I'll do it, but I felt like unworthy to be working with him doing that. But I learned so much from your dad. I mean, it's just how to deal with people and situations, and how to deal with different campers and counselors or whatever, and just how to use wisdom, right? And so it's been humbling for me all through the years, and even now, it still humbles me to see how people just get in and work. So that's been awesome. But to answer your question, like what has been some of the differences? It's really weird, man, because you look over the years and you see cycles. You'll see how like things kind of move from one way and they'll shift one way to another. I remember, like, we were talking a few weeks ago how, like, when some of y'all came through, and then you had people like Paul Crane and Zach, and some of them that came through, and I mean, we had some that were out there. They were like headhunters. They used to beat the counselors in ball games, right? And then you'd get back to the point. I guess some of it was the campers getting younger again, where the counselors could finally win some games, right? And we'd go out and throttle some campers. So that was always fun. But you see the ages change or whatever. But there's a lot of things that remain the same. I mean, kids are still kids. You're still going to have some that are going to be mischievous, and some that are, seeing what they can get into. You got some that are super quiet, shy, sensitive, or whatever, and you got others that are kind of your out front, right? So you look and you see the different personalities, right, all through the camp. And over the years, I've tried to learn to be the ones that are kind of out front, that everybody knows, the kids that are always volunteering and always wanting to get involved. Those are the ones that are easy to get to know or whatever. But it's sometimes the others that are harder to. And I think the more I've done this, I've tried to learn to do that more. But what I'm seeing now, probably now even more so than in more than even like just 5 years ago, is it's a little bit harder sometimes to maintain the attention of some of the kids throughout the day. We try to mix things up. We tried a couple of different things this year, right, just to see how it would go, and we're going to try some other things in the future or whatever. And we're looking for just ways to maintain their attention, because, in all honesty, most of us have really short attention spans. That's why TikTok videos are just a few seconds long, because nobody wants to sit and watch a long video, right? We want clips or whatever, and sermonettes and pieces. So maintaining their attention for a longer period of time is hard sometimes. But another thing I've noticed too, and one of the reasons why we started moving to classes, is that I'm seeing more and more in in dealing with young people outside of camp and in camp, when they want to know why. They want to know why on a lot of things. They want answers. It's not just like because my pastor said so, or just because my youth pastor said so, or because my parents said so. It's like, but why? But why? And they want answers, and I want to be able to give them biblical answers on stuff. So we see that a lot.
Yeah, and I don't see everything you get to see, and I don't get to hear everything you get to hear, but just the little stuff as far as just different age groups that come through, the sports aspect or the new thing, even the language. There was some things thrown around the other week I'd never heard before, and I'm not old, but I was like, I've never heard that before, that term before in my life.
You get disconnected. You get disconnected from not in it. Yeah.
And
one thing I'm lucky, she just turned 16, right? So I try to keep up with a lot of it just because of her, because I want to be current on what she's talking about and what's going on with her. So I'm able to keep an ear to the ground on some of it, but it's definitely hard and definitely different.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You got anything, Coop?
Go ahead. You go ahead with yours. Yeah. I'm listening.
Another question I have for you, because of your platform and your leadership and things you get to see and you get to hear about, and I know I'm sure there's a lot of youth pastors, even pastors that come to you and ask you different questions regarding young people. But my second question for you, I think is very beneficial to even maybe young people that may watch this, is what are you finding is a main struggle for this generation spiritually?
Oh man, that's a tough one. You're like Dr. Phil asking these probing questions. That's a good question, man. And you know what? I find myself, it's interesting. In thinking about this question, I was talking to a lady at a youth conference the other Friday night, and she was like a grandma. She was like 70-something years old. She said she had a daughter that was like 40-something, and a granddaughter was like in her 20s. She said, I've been praying and asking God to show me how to pray for and how to talk to this younger generation. That, to me, that was awesome for a lady her age to have that desire and to realize that there was a gap there, right? That there was a disconnect, and that if she wanted to be effective to the current generation and, this younger generation, that, she needed the Lord to give her some guidance. And I've prayed that same thing. I think it's important that we all do, that we find out how to reach them, and that we're open to that, right? Because things are different. You are both young men, but you have even noticed the obvious changes, right? In just the past 10 years or so, and how personalities are different, society's different. But I would say a couple of the things that are, I guess, that are, what's the word I'm looking for, y'all? That's a struggle, I guess, is one of the struggles I see is that everything is public now, right? Everything is, and it's like when I was younger, when I was a teenager, and I would go out and do something and get in trouble or whatever, it may make it home, and Mom would know about it before I did, but it wouldn't be all over social media, But nobody would know about it except Mama when I got home and I get in trouble. But now everything's public and everything's out there, and I think that it brings up a lot of questions. It brings up a lot of confusion, because young people, and quite honestly, just to be honest, young people will see people who are Christians, claim to be Christians, claim to be filled with the Holy Ghost, Pentecostal or whatever, and then they'll see something on social media that's like, man, this is totally different than and it brings a lot of questions to their mind. So they struggle with a lot of those things. I think we lost Cooper.
That'll be fine. You can keep going.
He didn't like my answer. He had but I think that's one. But I think another struggle though also is the same thing that I dealt with and the same thing that y'all dealt with. It's still peer pressure. When it all boils down to it, it's still that same pressure from other people. It's just different now because it's peer pressure that's more public and it's more seen, right? And from a lot of that stuff. Welcome back.
And another call. I need to figure out how to silence this stuff.
Do you feel too though like I don't have any social media. It was consuming my time more than it should, and I have found life better without it. Brooke will tell me different stuff, and that's just for me. But I really now, because I've been without for so long. Brooke will keep me updated, or I'll get on her Facebook every now and then. But I don't know where I would have time, and again, that's just me. But are you finding though, maybe like as a youth pastor or even a pastor or any type of ministry, you're really having to use wisdom because of you're seeing maybe what young people are doing, and you get in a service and it would be so easy to go tell them this, but I'm not making fun of you. I really ain't. I'm not. But when you were growing up, you didn't have that. I mean, pastors that came to you and told you stuff, it was because they were in a prayer closet and they had heard from God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't really have to pray anymore about what they're doing. All you got to do is go to Facebook or Instagram or whatever, Snapchat, and see what they're doing. I'm not saying don't. You understand what I'm saying?
I know. The preacher used to preach and be like, your sins will be shouted from the housetop. You heard that before. Be sure your sins will find you out. It was like, well, now everybody knows you're gonna find out because it's on your reel.
And you saying that, I wonder how many, and even though they know they're wrong, they think, well, they saw what I did on Facebook. To whereas back then it was, I knew there's no way they could know. And I know there's different stuff, but it's not all young people, but
no, it's not.
We were talking a little while ago about connecting with young people, and their language is different. I mean, different their personalities, what their interest is just changing, it seems, daily. And so do you find it more of a struggle, and this isn't one of the questions, but do you find it more of a struggle to connect, or is it still the same? Brother Kenny used a word, you remember at our ministers thing back in February, he used the term, you must adapt but not adopt. Do you find it still easy, or is it a little more difficult?
I find it a little bit challenging, but I definitely don't find it impossible. Part of it's a little bit of a challenge just because if you don't stay on top of it, like I said earlier, I've got Logan's 23, Layla's 16, so just constantly and being interacting with them and being a part of their life, it makes it easier for me. And I try to talk to our kids a lot just to kind of see what's going on, but it's not that bad for me. But I have noticed that probably in the last 10 years that it has gotten harder. I have to be intentional about it. I have to, try. I have to, it's not just natural. It's natural anymore. But it's still very doable.
And I've heard you use that word before, and I think anybody in ministry has to be intentional.
Yeah.
And that is something we all do. Cooper, anything before I move on to this last question? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and I was just jotting down a couple things. And I love what you were saying about young people. I was actually talking to a young minister. Is my audio still good? Because I went out for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's not. But anyways, I was talking to a young minister today, and we were on a call, and we were actually talking about some of these things. And what we were talking about, and just you already said all of it. But social media it's like used to, and I was telling him, used to like Midway or Leroy or whatever, you can grow up there all your life and that's all you know.
Yeah.
But now, and I don't even know what it was like before because I'm only 25, you know what I mean? But just looking back at the way y'all grew up, like it's not like that anymore.
That's right.
Somebody from Alabama knows exactly what's going on across the nation. They know exactly what's going on across the world. And it's really like pulled everybody together. And it has created a lot of questions. It has created a lot of young people seeking, hey, well, what's going on? Like, what is the truth? And it's created a problem, but it's also created like kind of I don't know what you call like a revival. You know what I mean? And I saw it like at camp this year. We went to Canaan Land in Georgia. Young people were so hungry and so thirsty for the Lord.
Yeah.
And I've even seen it, up here, a lot of these young people that are unchurched, they probably didn't grow up like I did, but they're hungry and they're asking and they're wanting, and it's not a bad thing that they're wanting to know. I think it shows their hunger and they're receiving from the Lord. They're receiving from the Lord. But what I was telling Matt today is I'm a young person. Like I'm a lot younger than you. I'm even younger than Luke, but just working with young people, it's made me rethink and almost unlearn some things. You know what I mean? Like it's made me rethink how I say, like if I get up there and start talking about a certain topic that I might can quote the scripture. It has made me rethink, like I might need to say this a little differently, say it like I don't really know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's also made me kind of get a little deeper and study a little more because a lot of these they're not satisfied with hey, this is it. You know what I mean? So it does create issues and problems, but in a way, I think it's also it's pushed me into a deeper place. And we're like, hey, like you said, being on top of it, socially, but also even spiritually. Like, hey, I better have a good answer, or something good to say, But anyways.
That's good. That's a good point. I definitely can see some positives out of it. I know, like a lot of times when we were campers or whatever, you'd only get to see people when you came to youth camp or if you had a youth rally. But now, man, a lot of these kids stay in touch all the time, and it's good because they know they're not alone and they have other people to talk to and other people to lean on. And it's been good for our youth group. I know, like our youth group, we're going on a youth trip in a couple of weeks, and we got a couple from the churches, off somewhere that they just stay in contact with. They're going to go with us, just they've maintained all throughout the year. And I noticed, and I actually talked to Logan about it as well. He mentioned the same thing that you did. I've noticed, man, how hungry this generation is. They got those altars from the first night of camp, man, and they were hungry and in there, and they want it. I mean, they want the genuine, the real, and I think it's awesome. I love seeing it.
Yep.
And I agree 100%. I have said something here recently, or for the past year, I would say, is my view of this generation is they're very bold, and some use that very badly. But what we saw a couple of weeks ago at Forts Lake and that other churches are seeing is that it can be used mighty for the kingdom of God. And you said something there, and I was noticing our church. I know it wasn't just our young people; it was a lot of young people all throughout camp. But because it's our young people, I'm wanting to pray with them, whatever. But I noticed how they did. They got in the first night. Used to it was that last night that somebody might get a breakthrough. It took a couple of services for young people to actually get in. It's first night, man. Young people were getting help, receiving from God, and they are, as Cooper said, they're hungry. They want to know, and I think a lot of it is because number one, they want to know for themselves, but two, think some of it is somewhere it's not been passed down or they've not grown up. We've got a lot of young people that they don't have a history. They don't have a history of being raised in Pentecost or their parents being in church. And so they're hungry, and it's awesome to see and man, what the Lord's doing and what he's going to do. Anything else on this, Coop, Brother Scottie? Last question before we end this episode is what is one thing that you've noticed, and you've already touched base on this already, but what is one thing we can do as the church or as ministers or anybody in leadership or in not even leadership, but parents and people that are saved and born again? What can we do to prepare this generation to become the church?
Man, I love this question. This is good. This is one thing that in some of my teaching to our Sunday school class and then the preaching that I've been doing at our church, it's something I've been trying to touch on and to talk about more, because the church as a whole doesn't do a good enough job in discipleship, and that's on me, and it's on on others as well.
Yes.
But we are. I made a conscious effort about a year ago. I said, you know what? I said, I've been working with youth most all of my life, and I've always, preached the truth and tried to give them the word and everything. And, because I want them to stay in church. But one thing I failed to focus on that the Lord really dealt with me about is don't just try to teach, and don't just try to raise them to be church members or whatever, but try to raise leaders. Try to teach them to be leaders and teach them how to be leaders, right? Not just maybe not a pastor or a youth pastor even, but teach them how to lead and then give them opportunity to do that. For so long, not everybody, but so many felt like you had to be married, have kids, have a stable job, and then God can start using you in ministry. Get everything in a row and get everything settled, get your career, get everything, get settled down, get in a church somewhere, be there for 5 years, and then we'll start using you in ministry somewhere. That was totally the wrong direction to try to go with these things, man. And I'm not saying at all that you point them in a direction, just turn them loose and let them go. But you put them there, and you teach and you train and you take time and you mentor and you guide. And you don't have to do a 30-person youth group, but you take 5 leaders, take 5 people, make leaders out of those 5, and let those 5 take a person or 2 apiece after a year. And you start doing that. And it has been so good for me to go through to a couple of books that I've read and a couple of classes that I've been to or whatever on how to make leaders and trying to do a better job of that. We do a good job of preaching the truth, and I believe we do a good job of teaching the truth. And that can never change, but we need to teach them how to apply that and how to give that to someone else.
That's awesome, yeah.
Amen.
That was awesome. Yeah. Coop, you got any comments?
Are you done with your questions?
Yeah. But do you have any comments on this? What he just said?
No.
That's awesome. And
it is.
I don't think I've ever heard it, put like that. And so I hope people watching, whether you're in ministry, whether you're just a faithful churchgoer, if you're a parent, man, this what Brother Scottie has shared with us this evening is beneficial for all of us.
Yeah.
Cooper,
Yes, sir.
you got what you got? Don't say yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Let's go on. That is very. I was just soaking it in, Luke. I was just soaking in what he said. But I do appreciate you so much, and you have always been somebody that I've really looked up to, obviously, and I really respect for a long time. I actually did. Luke, do I have time just for just a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you asked me to give questions. Okay. But he hogged the time and he asked me a good question. Okay. No, and this is not. You don't have to elaborate too much on this. It's just a quick question. This was actually, and I hesitated asking this just because I know this is not really a minister's podcast, but I did want to ask because I do think there are some young ministers that watch this, and and there's a lot more to ministry than just preaching, but like a sermon. But I was wondering, and first of all, how old were you when you began to minister and preach?
I preached my first message in, I think, 2003. I think something like that. And it was absolutely awful. It was terrible.
Yeah. So
it's still pretty bad, but I mean, it's
something I was going to ask, and I just asked this because I think there's a lot of young ministers, because I have felt this way before, and I feel like I've like felt a relief from it, but I feel like there's a lot of young ministers, especially just starting out, that feel a pressure just in preaching, like a sermon, feel a pressure to do it a certain way. You know what I mean? To be like somebody, or to, well, if I don't preach like him, or this way, then I'm not. And sometimes I think it's a struggle, like even for years, if you let it go that long, that you don't even find yourself, and you just get comfortable just being yourself. And you could talk about this like outside of preaching a sermon, but specifically preaching. Like I just wanted to ask, very general question, but did you ever feel that ever? And if you did, like, did that change for you? Like, or how did that change mentally?
I definitely struggled with that. I grew up at Midway, grew up around some dynamic preachers. I remember one time I preached a youth service, and a guy came up to me after the service, and he's like, "Man, I figured you'd be more fiery." He said, "You weren't nearly as fiery as I expected you to be." And dude, that like cut me to the quick. I was like, I'm up here, I was spilling my heart. But it took me a little while before honestly, probably 10 years before I really started to feel like I was coming into my own. But something that your uncle Doug Chapman told me not too long after I started preaching or whatever, and it stuck with me for a long time since then. I had preached at Midway, I think, or something one time, maybe for a youth day or something that they had, and he told me at some point after that, he said, God's called you. He said, you're unique. He said he's called you to do things your own way. He said, and you'll reach people in a different way. And that's always stuck with me, that I don't have to preach after the form of somebody else. I don't have to. I can't be somebody else. I can only be what God's calling me to be. But I have to learn to deliver my heart and to be genuine, and just how it comes out. If it's anointed, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's something that maybe took me a while to really, because when I first started, ministering young, I started giving little devotions here and there, and then I preach or whatever here and there. But and I know some of it they were just asking me because, and I literally understood because my dad, this is Lamar's son. We'll ask him to come preach. But I'm not Lamar. I'm not Doug. I'm not Luke. You know what I'm saying? And so you do get that mentality. Oh, well, they're expecting a little something. But the thing is, you're your best being you. I am my best just being me, anointed, but being who God's called me to be. But anyway, I just wanted to ask that for any young ministers out there.
Yeah, it can be a pressure, but also it's usually a self-imposed pressure.
Yeah,
and you don't have to feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't know who the person was, but Brother Scottie, you're a wonderful preacher. You have blessed my heart many times, and
me too.
I'm telling you, you're one of my favorite preachers, and
me too.
So
appreciate that.
You've affected so many lives that, man, only heaven knows, and we appreciate you for being on the podcast. We know you could have been doing 1,000 better things, but we're glad you.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Chat and Chaps, man. So I'm
enjoying
it.
We are glad you joined us tonight, and
that's a good-looking hat too. I like that.
Man, I tell you what, I told you that there needed to be a little whatever dash and have Scottie Allen. Oh man, these new campers, they don't even know how far that goes back. It goes back a long time.
Way back.
Oh man, we're fixing to close. If you don't know, Brother Scottie, he is genuinely saved. He's an Alabama fan.
He's a Patriot, Luke. He's a Patriot.
Oh, he's a Patriot, man. Right. He's an Alabama fan. You're a Cowboys fan too, right?
Right.
We won't hold that against you. So is my brother. How about them Cowboys?
They make us pray.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be an interesting season this year. You looking forward to it?
I am.
Yeah. What you think about the new coach?
I'm gonna get the Cowboys, some of their players, to be pallbearers at my funeral, so they can let me down one more time.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But as far as Bama's coach, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens this year.
Yeah.
I think change can be interesting.
It's gonna be fun. Roll Tide.
Pay cut. Saban took. Did you see his pay cut? Oh my dear. It's still making good money, but still making good money. Hey, Luke, did you? Yeah. Luke, did you see my man Chris Paul?
Yeah, he's gonna hit every team in the NBA before he retires.
Oh no,
$11 million for 1 year.
Yeah. At this point, I don't really care. I think this may be his last year, Luke. I think he's just gonna go out with a bang.
He might as well. He's no good anyways. I'm surprised they gave him $11 million.
Watch your mouth.
He's going to the Spurs. That's when you know you hit the bottom.
Luke. Yeah, he's gonna raise them up. Is what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
Him and Wemby.
He's gonna be Wemby's biggest cheerleader. Is what he's gonna be.
They're building with him and Wemby, man. They drafted Wemby, getting this great point guard in.
It's gonna be awful. They're definitely not gonna be able to beat the Mavericks now. Me and Brother Scottie was talking. Clay is so.
Yeah.
Anyways, Brother Scottie's son, Logan, and Cooper are best friends, and Logan's getting married in a few months. And then, as he's mentioned, he has a daughter, Layla, who is 16, and her and my sister are real close friends. And so, but our families have just been close, and we look up to Brother Scottie and appreciate him. Any events or anything you got coming up, Brother Scottie? Forts Lake or?
Nothing at Forts Lake. I guess the next thing is going to be we're going to try to have a youth rally August the 16th at Midway.
Yep. So, we're looking forward to that.
I'll be
excited.
There.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know what the future holds, Luke. I don't know.
Yeah, I do. The only time you're coming down here is for Logan's wedding.
You might buy me a ticket. You might buy me a plane ticket down there.
No, I can't afford to buy you a plane ticket. But Scottie also is one of the speakers for our Choctaw camp meeting Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep.
So
Wednesday night.
if
about
you
that.
are
Lineup was sick.
in the area,
Lineup is
I
sick.
mean, you know, it kind of starts off rough, but then you get to Brother Scottie on Wednesday night, and
Kenny,
Kenny,
somebody,
yeah.
Tim, man, somebody.
Yeah.
Scottie out. Yes.
We know that. But we're looking forward to it. So if you're in the area, Givertown Wednesday night, listen, if you got a church you go to, just miss it. Be at Givertown Assembly of God that Wednesday night, 7:15, and hear this wonderful man of God. All right. Anything else? Y'all got anything?
No, man. Appreciate y'all having me on. Enjoyed it. It's been great.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. This is Chatting Chaps. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.